Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome to, there we go. I'm looking at this camera. It's like being back on TV again, just like the good old days. Camera one, come in, camera one. Hello, camera one. Pete Cohen here. Welcome to Power Up Your Brain for our elite members. This is day one of week 2. And for those of you that are watching this for the first time, this is your opportunity right here today to learn some really powerful tips, tools, techniques, and strategies to help you be amazing. That's not actually true. If you're a man, you definitely have different equipment than a woman has, and vice versa. But I think you understand what I'm saying in terms of we've all kind of got equal chances. We've all got this opportunity to create a life of meaning, a value, of purpose. We've all got this opportunity to be a better version of ourselves. So you probably know, just so you know, on Mondays, we broadcast live for free to the world. On Mondays, we broadcast live and free to the world. And on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, we don't broadcast on Instagram. We broadcast on Facebook, but only to our elite members. And for our elite members, we believe that this is the number one opportunity in the world, the number one opportunity in the world to go to work on yourself. We all need to go to work on ourselves. And today we're looking at powering up our brains. But before we look and talk about powering up our brains, let's talk about your teeth. Do you ever clean your teeth? Hopefully you do. And you probably don't think too much about it when you're doing it. You just do it because your teeth need to be brushed. So does your brain. Your brain needs to be brushed. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Looking at how to power up your brain. Most of us know that there are simple ways to power up our brain. They're so obvious that we often take them for granted, right? So the real obvious ones are sleep. If you want to power up your brain, you need to sleep. If you don't believe me, let's do an experiment tonight. No one here sleep, okay? No one sleep. Stay up for the next 24 hours and see what happens the next day. And if you don't believe me, then do it for 48 hours and then see what happens. All of a sudden, your brain will be giving you very clear messages that you need to sleep. Why? You won't be able to concentrate. You'll be starving hungry. You'll make really poor decisions. So we know sleep. It's the same actually with movement, believe it or not. Just move it. If you don't move for long periods of time, your brain just tends to shut down. Every cell of your body is made or is charged by movement. And then, of course, diet. There's no question that diet makes a massive difference. But that's the obvious stuff, and you know that. If you want to understand that stuff a little bit more, we can help you to give you the right information, because there's still a lot of confusion about eat right, drink right, think right, and what exactly we should be doing in order to be as healthy as we possibly can be. But it's all a bit of a challenge, really, to really take care of yourself, to understand that there are things that you can do, that you can do to yourself, for yourself, as opposed to wanting other people to do it for you. See, our brains make up 2% of our body weight, 2%, but yet consume over 20%, or requires 20% from the energy from the food that we eat. It needs a massive amount of energy, and it really does take looking after. And what I wanted to point out to you this morning is it's really important. It's quite simple, but for most of us, we only really know when we're really well. Most of us really know when we're most alive, when we're not well. When was the last time you felt unwell? Your body was aching, you had a streaming cold, you had a sore throat. Most people know that's when they feel most alive, even though they might feel negatively alive. That's when they're most aware of their existence. It's so amazing, isn't it? Most of us have forgotten what it feels like to be really alive, to be really healthy, to be full of energy. Yet that's what our bodies want, but our bodies aren't going to do it for us. We have to work with our bodies. And when it comes to powering up our brain, this is the real point. This is what I really want to dive into right here, right now, to help you understand that we are wired up in certain ways to survive. And we have the ability to respond in certain ways. So if you heard a really loud noise right now, you would go into what is called the fight and flight response. We all have that response. It's hardwired into us for us to survive. If an animal or a car came running towards you, well, not a car would come running towards you, that would be quite funny. If any of you saw my picture on Instagram yesterday as me dressed as a hamburger, that would be quite funny if you saw me running towards you dressed as a hamburger. But of course, none of you are thinking about that, right? You see, in order not to think about something, we have to think about it. We are wired up in a certain way for us to survive. So if a threat came towards you, you have an ability to either run away or run towards the thing to attack it. We were not designed for that to activate itself multiple times throughout the day. We were not designed to do that. And most of us activate that response how many times? And this is what I'd love you to do today, just to become a little bit more aware. On Mondays, when we spend a week looking at various topics in various areas, I ask people to take ownership and to become more aware of what we're saying, because that really is the first key to changing anything, to become aware. And I invite you to start seeing your brain like you see a computer. If you were to take apart a computer, you could still run, you could see that there was some processes taking place. And that's exactly the same with you. But most of us take that for granted. We think the way that we think is just the way we're always going to think. And the way that we react is the way we're always going to react, rather than being able to step back and see what you're doing and observe what you're doing. Because it's very hard to change anything. So I'd love to invite you to see how many times in one day is that flight response kicking in. Because it's great, it's there, but if it fires off multiple times a day, you will power down your brain. Your brain is designed for what we call the My 365 response. And that's what I'm going to be teaching all of this week, the My 365 response. It's what we call, it's the My 365 response, but it's really the relaxation response. You have the ability for the fight and flight, but you also have the ability for the relaxation response. And you're designed to do both. But most of us don't activate that one very often. And in fact, now you become more aware, you'll start to realize that throughout a day, the fight and flight response is activated probably more times than a caveman would have had that response activated in his whole life. You think maybe a caveman, who knows, but maybe once or twice a week, maybe once or twice a day. The rest of the time, they'd probably be relaxed and just waiting to do whatever the next thing was. We are not designed for that response to multiple times kick in every single day. And it's estimated that between 60 and 90% of visit to the doctors, what that person is experiencing has something massively to do with stress. What stress does to our bodies. We know there's a massive link between stress and heart disease. We know there's a link between emotions like anger and cancer. That we have this ability, it's so simple and it's free, in order that we can kick in this response. And I'm going to show you a technique that's so simple right now that you probably won't do it. It's so simple. It's too easy that you just won't do it. But we have to cultivate this, because most of us now are living in a world where we want everything done for us. I'm sick, go to the doctor, give me something, make me better. I don't feel like, you're overweight. You want someone to do it for you, rather than understanding that you have some incredible capabilities and abilities that are available to you in the palm of your hands. I wrote something down this morning. Can you believe that? Can you believe this? Plato, right? 2,500 years ago, this is what he said. The greatest mistakes doctors make is they attempt to cure the body without attempting to cure the mind. Mind and body are one and should not be treated separately. We can do so much It's just whether you want to activate that power that you have. So I really hope this makes sense, and I want to give you a technique. So the first thing is just become aware. Look to do this without judgment, without being critical. Can everyone say this with me right now? That's interesting. Everyone say that right now. Come on. Now do let's go. That is interesting. Like you're some sort of German scientist. That is interesting. You don't have to say it like that. But I promise you, if you did, it'd probably put a smile on your face. This is interesting. This is interesting, Mr. Bond. No, that's something else. So what I'm asking you to do is just be curious. And I was doing it this morning. I've already observed 3 or 4 times where I could feel myself starting to rush. I could feel myself starting to get into that flight and flight response. And by the way, there's something just as bad as the flight and flight response, which is called the frozen response. And this is something else that we activate. So you might be, the response of, oh, do I go and do this? Do I go and do this? Or do I run away from this? Or do I just not know what to do and spend most of the day in this response? And I wouldn't look at this as right or wrong or good or bad. It is what it is. It's just what you do with it. Hello, Instagram. Hello, Facebook. It's just what you do. And you do what you do until you know better. And some people, when they know better, they do better. So just become more aware. Is that the answer? It can be for a lot of people. Once they become more aware, you might start to realize that you have a choice. You have a choice. There was an airline company many years ago. I don't know who it was. I think they were called Pam Air or something, or maybe I can't remember. Whatever it was, their strapline was, you always have a choice. And you always have a choice, but the easiest choice to make is the choice that you've made before. To make a different choice is where your brain starts to go. It tries to, even though we're not powering up our brains, our brains try to protect us. And when you really look at your brain and you understand what your brain really is, it's a big fatty tissue that is made up of nerve cells. And all these nerve cells have got these little wires on them, and there's all these messages going. And if we learn to activate the My365 response, the relaxation response, we give our brain a chance to work just so much better. So this is what I invite you to do. And this week, we're going to be going into this in a lot more detail. And every single one of you that's watching this right now that is not a member of My365 Elite, you can become an elite member. You can become an elite member and change your life just in the next 30 days. You can click on the link in the post here. You can take advantage of it, and immediately you'll get access to the greatest material I believe ever put together for personal and professional development. You get daily broadcasts, and you get to be a part of an amazing community. And by the way, all of our members that were at the event on Saturday, it was unbelievable, and I'm still having many fond memories as I think about the time that we spent together. So take advantage of Elite and see what coaching can do for you, but not just coaching, world-class coaching. So here we go. This is what I invite you to do. This is what we call the My365 response. Today, or tomorrow, or the next day, or every day, have a go at doing this. Notice when all of a sudden that response is starting to kick in. We all know the response of, maybe it's a rush of blood, your heart rate goes up. You just notice that you're starting to react. You're starting to get a little bit stressed. And the first thing you do is you put this finger on your left hand here and you go, that's interesting. The next thing you do is you bring your right arm up and you go, stop. Okay, let's go back. You notice it's happening. That's interesting. Then you go, stop. Now, why do you want to stop? If someone put up a stop sign in front of you, you'd probably go, oh, stop. Just stop for a second. And in that moment, recognize what needs work. What needs to be done right now? What needs work? That's what I want you to say. What needs work? That's interesting. Stop. What needs work? Then I want you to do this with your left hand. This. Now, why this? Because this is the opposite of this. And this is what you're doing inside you. You probably don't realize it. You're pulling back in. That's interesting. Stop. What needs work? Do this. Bring your attention back inside. Now, at this point, you do really have a choice. My recommendation to you is to do this. Take 3 deep breaths. And with every breath that you take, every move you make, every of these 3 breaths that you take, just imagine filling yourself up with oxygen, which is really what you're doing, and creating space inside your body. Now, some people might want to use imagery. We're going to expand on this week. But if this is the only thing that you do, that's interesting. Stop. What needs work? Breathe. You can even do this if you want. Now, when I do this, I just become really aware of my feet on the ground. That's what I become aware of. Now, why do you need to do all of these hand movements? Well, some people might actually think you're crazy, but what this is doing is it's a physical movement, kind of bringing to life what it is that you're doing. You know, like if you think of a person who's trying to bring an airplane in, he doesn't just stand there and try and do it with his mind so the person in the plane can guess. He's doing this, symbolizing for something to happen, for something to move. So become aware. And if you want to feel stupid doing this, that's up to you. And if you're really self-conscious, maybe if you're on the London Underground, you know, you might not want to do this, but someone might ask you what you're doing and you could tell them and it might change their life because it's really simple things which make a massive difference. So let's recap. What am I asking you to do? I'm asking you to power up your brain. The best way to power up your brain is to become more aware of what you're doing with your brain. And if you literally running the stress response way too much in your life, your energy of your brain will seriously decrease. If you want to power it up, do something different. And we'll look at more ways this week, but this is something very simple. Just become more aware. Don't think of this as right or wrong or good or bad or positive or negative. It's just what you do. What do? You do what you do until you know better. What my 365ers do when they know better, they have a go at doing better. So today, if you notice that, you might not remember it every time. That's interesting. Next thing, stop. What needs work? What needs work is for you to bring your attention back. And don't expect to get this perfect first time round. Just keep doing it. The more you do it, eventually you might not need to move your hand movements because you'll just be so good at it, it becomes an automatic response. And look, before we finish this, I know that someone's watching this, who's someone I know very well, who contacted me the other day and told me that they'd had what he thought, or they thought, or she thought they'd had a breakdown. And I said, you know, that's good because for some people, when they have a breakdown, it gives them an opportunity to build themselves back up again. And I told that story on Friday, and someone who was watching heard that message. Because he told me that, and I said that to everyone on Friday, that person came up to me on Saturday and told me that they'd had a breakdown a few years ago. And it was because I said that she then thought, you know what, I'm going to say that, and I'm going to tell the elite community of people how she turned her life around. But her feeling liberated enough to say this to a whole group of people, I think that's helped her, but it also empowers other people. Look, we love stories because we identify in many cases with the character in the story. This is a story. This is the story of your life. Where is that story going? Where do you want the story to go? If you want the legacy of your life to be that you embraced your life and you made yourself the best that you can be, then you have to go to work on yourself. And whether you want to look at me like Gandalf or Dumbledore or Rocky in the film Creed, or someone who's just being there along the way to help and support you, that's up to you. But one thing I can tell you as I finished this broadcast this morning is I believe in you. I believe in you probably more than you believe in yourself. And I will keep showing up and I will keep sharing because I believe in you. Thank you so much for watching today. Thank you for all of our Instagrammers. We appreciate you. I love Instagram. You want to follow me on Instagram, feel free to. For me, Instagram is just a way of documenting what's going on every single day. I'm just going to make a quick little summary on Instagram. And it's Instagram, I'll see you soon. Having to concentrate, as you can probably see. There's a good amount of people watching there today, which is always great. And thank you to all of you for giving me your time today. I'm going to turn the camera on myself. Here we go. It's Pete Cohen. It's day 1 of week 2, and we're on the camera here. And we are looking this week at how to power up your brain, up of a lot of nerves. It's a big fatty tissue, actually. And it takes up 2% of your body's weight, yet it consumes about 20% of the energy that you get in from food. Most of us don't really realize how we're using our brain, and most of us aren't using our brains particularly effectively. What we were looking at this morning was how to activate what we call the My365 to the stress response that people kick in multiple times a day. We can seriously change our life by changing our responses. You have that opportunity in the palm of your hands. What you probably need is some help and some guidance along the way as you practice until you know better and do better. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. All the best, guys. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. And let's end this broadcast, and we'll see you soon. Ta-ta. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you for all your lovely comments. In fact, if anyone has any comments they want to make, you can just make them now. I'll just share some comments. And as we finish up this day, we can see what some of our members are actually saying. Go out there and practice. You know, this is a great idea, right? What a great idea. I really thought it was a great idea. Don't have personal development constipation. Go out there and actually practice. We are applicators. That's what we do. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yes, and thank you. Love you too, my friend. This ain't no joke. This is the real deal. Mr. Deans is in the house. Practice. Thank you so much. It's great to see so many. And we will see you tomorrow.